Yeah.
All right, you're welcome to the second edition of Conversation of the Saints with Bishop Eruohi and, of course, with our highly esteemed guest, Pastor Steve Iruedo. And in case you're just joining us for the very first time, Conversation of the Saints is a live broadcast that deals on Bible exposition, especially for now on the teachings and the parables of Jesus. Of course, as time goes on, we expound that to cover many other things in scriptures. But for now, our focus is on the teachings and the parables of Jesus. And last week, Thursday, we looked at Matthew chapter 18. Of course, the broadcast ended a bit abruptly, but today we're back live. And of course, with me, that'll be doing justice to the parables and the teachings of Jesus is none other than the highly esteemed Pastor Steve Iruedo. Please, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Pastor Steve Iruedo to today's live broadcast. Pastor, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Bishop Eruohi, Pastor Bishop Eruohi. I appreciate you. It's a privilege to be here again. I'm
Well, it's an
excited.
honor. I'm so
Let's go.
excited. You know, the feedback we got from the broadcast last week, Thursday, they're amazing and very, very encouraging. As a matter of fact, the views, the plays, and the comment, it's been amazing. And I trust God that we're going to have another swell and great time today. So,
Okay.
sir, last week, Thursday,
Mhm.
we left off while you were still trying to explain how offenses, how when we harbor offenses, reduces our authority and influence in the realm of the spirit. So I like you, Sam. If you can take a cue from there, so that we can kickstart this journey from what you were trying to explain last week Thursday before we went on.
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Bishop. So remember from last week, we established that the context for the conversation in Matthew chapter 18 was, who is the greatest in the kingdom?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. That was the question from verse 1 that the disciples asked their master, their rabbi, Jesus, who is the greatest in the kingdom? Right. And then Jesus began to talk about humility. And then he began to talk about offenses, you
Mm.
know, and so your question now is, how does
How
offense
does offenses reduce
now
our influence? Yes, sir.
reduce our influence in the spirit, and I explained that also last week, that we are dignitaries. All right, we are dignitaries of heaven. We are not just citizens. You have to see yourself as a dignitary of heaven, and no dignitary walks alone. You walk
Mm.
with your special forces, right?
Mm.
Now, if you get offended with someone who is a dignitary and you have your invisible forces with you, right? It is not right for you to now begin to take matters into your own hands, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to leave the invisible forces to take charge, just like any dignitary in today's world. You can imagine if someone insults a governor, and then the governor gets out of the car, pulls his shirt, and starts fighting. Right? Okay, it looks like this thing froze a little. I'll just continue. So you can imagine if a governor, steps out of the car and starts fighting by himself. No, he's not going to do that. He
Yes, sir.
knows that he has special forces around him who will defend him. So the same thing, if truly you believe, that is where faith comes in, right? That you have invisible forces behind you who will fight for you, right? Then you will hold your peace. Jesus
Mm.
said, I could command a legion, I could pray to my Father, and he will bring a legion of angels if my kingdom were of this world. He said, but my kingdom is not of this world. So he refused to defend himself. He refused to take offense, right? So if you truly believe in that, you will be able to hold yourself back, and that is faith. You understand? That is
Wow.
faith. Faith is believing in the invisible, isn't it? Faith is
Yes,
believing
sir.
in what the eyes cannot see. So
Mm.
if you know who you are and you truly believe that that is who you are, like if you look at verse 4 in Matthew chapter 18, Jesus did say that the angels of that child, of the children, is always beholding the face of the Father, right?
Mm.
Meaning that the angels
Yes,
are
sir.
always there waiting for the command to act on behalf of the one who is humble, on behalf of the one who refused to take offense. The angels are always there, and it's going to be very intolerable for the offender, you know. So that is how faith comes in. All right. I don't know if I did that right. So it's believing that you will be taken care of. There will be justice. Okay.
Okay, sir. So if I
Mhm.
get you correctly, sir, in other words, we believers, we undo ourselves or reduce our authority because
Mhm.
we tried to fight for ourselves, where in essence we're supposed to leave that to God to
Yeah.
handle, while we
Yeah.
stay focused on what
Yeah.
He has asked us to do as His children. All right, that's
That's
incredible. That's very,
that's
very
correct.
awesome, sir. Now,
Mhm.
sir, while reading Matthew 18, as I was
Mhm.
trying to do a correspondence, I
Mhm.
realized that there is something similar in
Mhm.
Luke 17.
Mhm.
And although the themes were the same,
Mhm.
there's a bit of variance in the context in which they were used. But however,
Mhm.
I found something very similar in Matthew 18 and
Mhm.
Luke chapter 17. So I
Mhm.
like to ask, how do the teachings in Matthew 18 that we have been discussing since last week and
Mhm.
Luke 17 complement each other in
Mhm.
terms of offenses and forgiveness?
Okay. When you look at Luke 17, it will look
Yes,
as
sir.
if it's the same reportage, right? The reporting
Okay,
is the
sir.
same, but from different angles, right? From different angles, you know, like Luke reported certain things that Matthew did not report, and then in
Yes,
some
sir.
other places, you know, they overlapped, you know. So Luke 17 verse 1 is saying that it is impossible, but that offenses will come, you know, but woe unto him through whom they come.
It
It were
comes.
better for him that a millstone were hanged upon his neck and he cast into the sea than
See,
he should offend one of
the
these little ones.
little
All right.
ones.
All right.
Yes,
So you
sir.
see, you are seeing children there. So it's the same reportage, if you like, you know. However, you know, some overlap and then a few additions here and there. Okay. So
Mm.
he's talking about offenses. So you are right. It's the same thing. It's the same context. It's the same conversation. Matthew started from who is the greatest in the kingdom. This one didn't start from who is greatest in the kingdom, but he
It
just said
started with
that
offense.
yes, yes. Say, but then he started talking about take heed to yourselves. If thy brother trespass against thee, rebuke him, and if he repent, forgive him. That's verse 3. All right. And if he trespass against thee 7 times in a day, and 7 times in a day turn again to thee, saying, I repent, thou shalt forgive him. So you see, so it's essentially the same thing the two areas are talking about. However, the verse 5 creates a little bit difference because faith was brought in there right away. The
Yes,
response
sir.
of the apostles to offense, you know, is Lord, increase our faith.
Mm.
That is
Mm.
their
So
response.
I've been meaning to ask, why does Jesus emphasize childlike humility in Matthew 18, but
Mhm.
shift focus to faith in Luke 17?
No, no, no. The two are the same. If you look at it,
Okay.
it wasn't Jesus that shifted focus to faith.
Okay.
It was the same conversation, right? In
Yes,
Matthew,
sir.
in Matthew 18, after Jesus narrated how to deal with a brother that is troublesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question Peter asked was, how many times, you know, should my brother offend me before I can respond. Is it 7 times 7? And then Jesus said, no, I didn't say 7 times 7. I said 7 times
70
70.
times 7.
Yeah, 70 times 7. That's what I said.
70, yes.
Okay, so take note of the question that Peter asked. How many times should I wait? But here
Yes.
in Luke, right, the question asked is, Lord, increase our faith.
Our
Meaning
faith,
that,
yes.
to be able to overcome offense, you need faith.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So it
Wow.
means that if Satan wants to get a believer, what Satan wants to do is to diminish your faith, right? So he's going to touch things around you that will make you offended, so your faith can drop
Wow.
before he can have access. All right. So at times it takes you to ignore your circumstances, right? It takes you not to respond. I usually tell my friends, if somebody is looking for trouble, when he starts from A, he expects you to do B. Don't do B, go to M, right? When it
Wow.
comes to letter N, to come and meet you where you are, okay, come back to D. So you don't respond according to his offense. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
The apostle said, increase our faith, because you're going to need faith to deal with offense. You have to believe in a cause that is higher. You have to believe in a higher cause, all right, for you to overcome the present issue. Because the present issue is going to be a distraction to derail you from a higher cause. And the higher cause is that you are a dignitary, right? You are a special person. You are not an ordinary person. You are carrying destiny of yourself and of so many people. And you're not going to allow something that is trivial to derail all that because you feel offended. All right. So the response of the apostles was, increase our faith. And then you need to
Yes,
see
sir.
the answer that Jesus gave is very technical. I don't know if we'll be able to go in there. When the apostle said, increase our faith, Jesus gave an answer. That was a very technical answer that you can't take it on the surface. All right. Because, okay, let me see if I can say a little about that. Because the answer of Jesus was that if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you can say unto this mountain, unto this sycamore tree, be thou plucked
Be
up and
put
be
up
planted in the sea. And
in the sea,
that's what
and it
Jesus
will
said.
obey you.
Yeah, you see that? So the response of Jesus was to say that, look, you already have enough faith. You understand? You already have all
Yes,
the
sir.
faith you ever need. You already have it. And why did he say that? The reason he said that is because when someone says, increase my faith, what that means is that that person has already lost faith. The moment the person says, increase my faith, what he's saying is, I don't have faith.
Wow.
To increase his faith is now depending on the words you speak to him, because faith is going to come by the words you speak. So if you tell him, oh, yeah, I can see you don't have faith, it's all right. We have to do a prayer meeting later tonight, or we have to do a Bible study. No. But the minute you tell him you have faith, the faith will come back up. You understand what I'm saying? The faith will come back up. And at times, you can tell the person, maybe, for example, you were praying for someone to get healed, for example. I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
giving an example. You're praying for someone to get healed, and you perceive that the person is losing faith. You're waiting for a response. You can tell the person, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. If you don't get healed today, I'm not going to go. The minute you say that, the person's faith is going to go up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm saying? The person's faith is going to go up. Or you see that the person is still not having faith, you can begin to say, exactly, I dealt with a case that was worse than this yesterday. The case I dealt with, immediately you say that, the person's faith is going to go up. Okay, so the response of Jesus was that, look, if you have a little faith like this, that's all you need. All right. And I'm sure
Yes,
the
sir.
apostles, then he followed it with a parable, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm meaning to ask a question about that parable.
Yeah.
Because just hold that thought. For those who are joining us for the very first time, we are dealing with the parables of Jesus in Matthew 18, and we're trying to also link that to the parable and the teachings of Jesus in Luke 17. And so, one of the good things I usually cancel when you're on this broadcast is that you get your biro, get your paper.
Okay. He froze a little. I'm sure he'll come back. It's a network issue. Okay, so he was saying you get your biro, you get your paper, right? And then put down those scriptures, because there's a whole lot to talk about. We're going to talk
Step
to,
by step. All right, so
yeah.
sir, you were saying something about the parable of the unprofitable servant, because I've been wondering what is the significance of that parable in the teaching and in context of what we're looking at, sir.
Yeah. I don't know if we need to read that a little.
Okay.
I think it's better you put the jottings. It's a long one, but what happened in
Okay.
essence was that, uh, okay, so Jesus had said that when they said increase our faith, Jesus had said, you have all the faith you need. And then in verse 7, he followed up with, but which of you having a servant? All right. But which of you? So that's to tell you that he's still dealing with the issue of increase our faith. After he said,
Mm.
you have enough faith, then he went on to say, but which of you? He gave a parable. So that parable is describing faith. All right.
Mm.
Which of you,
Okay.
having a servant plowing and feeding cattle, will say unto him by and by, when he's come from the field, go and sit down to meat? And will not rather say unto him, make ready wherewith I may sup, and guard myself, and serve me, till I have eaten and drunken, and afterward thou shalt eat and drink? Doth he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I trow not. So likewise ye, when ye shall have done all those things which are commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants, we have done that which was our duty to do. All right. So what Jesus is saying is talking about humility, because we are dignitaries of God, we are servants of God. All right. When we are on duty for God, no matter what we see, no matter what we find, right? Don't complain, don't grumble, don't react. Just tell yourself it's
Mm.
okay. You understand? Just tell yourself it's okay. Just don't react in like manner. So he's talking about humility. We are unprofitable servants. We don't deserve anything. I don't deserve your honor, right? I don't deserve your respect. You get it? I don't deserve your respect. I don't deserve anything. I'm here to serve you. Anyhow you treat me, it is okay. It is well with you. I'm going to pray with you. I'm going to pray for you, right? I have a duty to do. This is just one of them, but that duty is bigger than this. I'm not going to let this bog me down. So if you look at that parable, what that parable was saying was that, the servant has just finished working, and then he's hungry. But when he gets to his master, instead of him to say, okay, now I need to rest, I need to eat, the master is not telling him, go and give me food first. Which sounds
Mm.
unfair. It sounds unfair.
Mm.
It sounds
Mm.
wicked, right? But Jesus is saying, don't complain. You understand? Don't complain. If you find yourself in a public space where you are working and you have a boss and your boss is treating you that way, don't complain. All right?
Mm.
If you find yourself at home and your brother or your sister is treating you that way, don't complain. All right? You are married to someone, a man or a woman, depending on who you are, and you feel your spouse is not treating you right, or your spouse can treat you better, don't complain. You understand? Just
Mm.
take it
Yes,
and
sir.
keep on loving and keep on serving. All right. Why? Because you are an unprofitable servant. You don't deserve anything. Whatever you get is God has given it to you by grace. All right. If you get a result like you just graduated from college, don't be too quick to celebrate yourself. Rather celebrate God, that God is one who gave me this. I don't care how much you studied, right? I don't care how hard you worked, but at the end of the day, you will have to say, no, this isn't me. I cannot achieve this. It is God that did that for me. All right. And that is faith right there. So when you are able to place yourself in all these scenarios and you are able to behave adequately, you find that the invisible forces around you will double. The invisible forces around you will be more excited. They will have more activity. You understand what I'm saying? And remember Matthew 19, 20, 21. Whatsoever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven.
Woo.
It's where
Hallelujah.
that is where your authority comes from. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's where your
Mm.
authority comes from. So I don't know if I did that right.
You did it right. Now, but I'm just
Mhm,
wondering for someone listening right now, when
mhm,
we explain these things and we talk about offenses, forgiveness, humility, some people look at these things and say it is easier said
mhm,
and done. If only you are in my shoes, if you know how this person has offended me, or you know
mhm,
the circumstance or situation I found
mhm,
myself. So I'm just
mhm,
wondering, since Jesus, since the disciples said, increase our faith, and Jesus was trying to teach about faith, I'm
mhm,
wondering, how does faith
mhm.
empower us to live out forgiveness and humility as described in Matthew 18 and Luke 17? How does faith empower us to do that?
The question should be, how do you build your faith? You
Mm.
understand what I'm saying? Because
Okay, sir.
faith is automatic, all right? It works by itself, all right? It is when faith is not there that we misbehave. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I can
Yes, sir.
assure anyone listening to this podcast right now that you are going to behave well today. I promise you.
Mm.
You're going to
Mm.
do the right things today. The problem is going to be tomorrow. Will you be able to do the same tomorrow? Because this
Wow.
conversation would have, been some time. And so you will need to
Mm-hmm.
refuel, isn't it? You will need to
Yes.
refuel. If you can just read for me, I think it's Hebrews chapter 12. I don't know if it's verse 2 or verse 3. It's a very popular script. It's a very scripture I love so much. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. I think it's verse 2.
Verse 2
Uh,
says, looking unto Jesus, the
mhm,
author and finisher of our faith, who for
mhm,
the joy that was set
mhm,
before him endured the
mhm.
cross,
Okay,
despising the shame,
the
and
shame.
sat down at the right hand of the throne of God.
Go to verse 4.
Verse 4 says,
Mhm,
you have not yet resisted to bloodshed,
mhm,
striving against sin.
That's it. So you have not yet resisted to bloodshed. You see, that word resisted, when you check it, is actually a military term. All right. It's
Mm.
like
Yes.
creating a barricade of resistance. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like you are at war. It's actually spiritual warfare. You understand what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because you must remind yourself that
Mm.
something is at stake. And let me tell you something. The bigger the offense, the bigger the promotion.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? When the
Mm.
offense is bigger, when the forgiveness you need to make is really so big, the bigger will be your promotion in the kingdom. All right. Let me show you one key. Look for the book of Daniel, chapter 3, the very last verse. I think it's verse 30 or verse 31.
Daniel chapter 3.
Mhm. It should be the very last verse. Is it
Okay.
that 30 or 31?
Okay.
So while you open that up, let me just
Yeah.
remind us that the beginning of all this conversation is, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?
Yes,
That
sir.
is that is the beginning of the whole conversation. Who is the
Mm-hmm.
greatest? And I said that as believers, we are not all the same. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm. Yes, sir.
We don't have the same hierarchy. No way. We don't have the same. hierarchy.
Mm.
You know, so some are higher in the kingdom, and the kingdom I'm talking about is not the end of the age. I'm talking about today. I'm talking about now. I'm talking about the
Mm.
kingdom of the Holy Ghost. All right. So when you
Yes,
see
sir.
that Daniel, let me see if I can get this quickly. Did I say chapter 3? Yeah, chapter 3,
You said
verse.
Daniel chapter 3, the
Yeah, it
last
should be
verse.
the last verse. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's the last verse. It's verse 30. Did you get it? Did you get it already? Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. All
Mm.
right.
Yes, sir.
Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Why were those guys promoted? Why were they promoted? Go to verse 1, start from the beginning. There was a temptation. The temptation was that they should bow down to the image of Nebuchadnezzar.
Mm.
All right, that was from verse
Yes,
1.
sir.
They should bow down. Now you need to know that that temptation at times God would allow it to come to you to give you an opportunity to write that exam. And if you pass it, the end of it is a promotion.
Mm.
So many of the offenses that we come to us, that we fight by ourselves, many times are exams from the kingdom of heaven to allow you to get promoted. You
Mm.
understand what I'm saying? If you look at the likes of Apostle
Yes, sir.
Paul, who gave a prophecy and they told him, don't go to Jerusalem. If you get there, you're going to be bound. And he said, Jerusalem, here I come. You know, because they
Mm.
excel in persecution. You understand? They excel in trials. They excel in temptation. So which temptation are you battling right now? Which trial?
Mm.
If there is none, if you are not going through any trial right now, then you're going to remain where you are spiritually, because it is those
Mm.
trials that promote you. They don't just
Wow.
promote you, they promote you depending on how you respond or how you react to it. If you react to it right,
Mm.
after a while, the trial will go away, right? And then you will find that your status has changed. But when you
Mm.
react wrongly, you remain where you are or you get demoted, right? And then you're going to write the test some other day. So it looks like Bishop Eruohi froze again. So now I'll just continue until he comes back. So that's the way it is. All right, that's the way it is. When offense comes, we have to put on, the Bible says, put on the whole armor of God so that you can withstand on the day of evil. All right. And remember those things in Ephesians chapter 6, I think it's verse 12. You know, faith is one of them. All right. So that whatever
Yes,
comes
sir.
to you, you can resist it. Were you hearing me?
Yes, I could hear you. I could hear you loud and clear,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
We are almost out of time. Firstly, I want to appreciate you, sir, for taking out the time to explain these parables and teachings so that we could understand them in details. However, just before we go, I like to bring this discussion to our modern day. And the last question I would want to ask is, how can we apply the principle of rebuking and forgiving offenders into this context? Just before we go, because we have about less than 2 minutes to wrap
Okay.
this up for today. How can we
Say
apply
that.
the principle of rebuking? Because Luke says we can
Okay.
rebuke
Mhm.
as we forgive at the same
Mhm.
time. So how can we
Mhm.
apply the principle of rebuking and
Mhm.
forgiving offenders into this context?
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. I'm going to be very practical. Okay. I'm going to be very practical. So you
Yes,
have
sir.
to review. You have to. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. You have to make sure that you are rebuking in love, right? To rebuke in love means that you are not
Mm.
pacifying. You are not pacifying yourself. All right. You are not rebuking so that you can feel better. Because the moment you feel better, you've lost your reward. You have to rebuke out of
Mm.
love to help that person. You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's what it is. It is not to make him feel bad. It is
Wow.
not to destroy him. It is not
Mm.
to bring him down. You are trying to help him. You are trying to lift him. The minute you don't do that, you are going to get diminished. So at times you probably don't need to rebuke, but when you have to, all right, you have to be sure that you do it in love. And when you are doing it, it's very hard. It's a delicate balance, all right? So that you don't lose your focus of helping your brother, okay? You have to find a way to, let me use this word, allow me, punish yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? Punish yourself. What do I mean by it's not the right language, but get me right. Because when you are rebuking somebody, even you yourself, you are not perfect. So you have to rebuke yourself too. You understand what I'm saying? You have to rebuke yourself. So you are rebuking your brother for doing something wrong. What about you? So the way to rebuke yourself as well, it might not be that you find a way to help the brother. You understand what I'm saying? To help him. In other words, in as much as you have told him the truth, go out of your way to help him cut his garden. Go out of your way to give him a shirt. You know, go out of your way to buy a meal for him. You understand what I'm saying? You are doing all that to say to yourself that I know that I'm rebuking my brother, but I myself, I am not a perfect person. Otherwise, you're going to end up rebuking him, and then you yourself will go down in spiritual ranking. All right? So that's how it works. So it looks like we lost Ohis again, and that was the last question. I don't know if I dealt with it very well. I want to appreciate everyone who is here, you know, who joined us today. We want to try and do this as much as possible every week or every 2 weeks, depending on the opportunity. So if you can come in about same time tomorrow, or you watch the video later, thank you so much. I'm going to end the live stream on behalf of my brother, Bishop Eruohi. And next week, let's think about, I think we wanted to talk about Matthew chapter 16, you know, the great confession, who do men say that I am, you know? And then Jesus was saying something somewhere, you know what it is, Matthew chapter 16. So please keep it a date, like, subscribe, and share. God bless you, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.